Gamerheads podcast is part of the Little Fellow Media Podcast Network, sponsored by podcast host Budsprout, the easiest podcasting software for hosting, promoting, and tracking your podcast. If you love retro video games and want to watch 8 or more gamers compete for video game glory, come join us for the RGB High Score Live Tournament. We play one Wednesday a month at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/RetroGameBrews. Come watch this Wednesday, August 28th for Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! For more information and updates, follow us on Twitter at RetroGameBrews. RGB High Score. Relive the past. And welcome to another episode of Gamerheads. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76. And with me are my co-host Blue,
a.k.a. Writer's View,
and my co-host Christian,
a.k.a. Fulgan,
and my co-host Mike,
a.k.a. Pezman Mike.
Welcome to the show, and welcome listeners from Irving, Texas, another city where we have listeners. A little history of Irving. Irving was founded in 1903 by Otto Schultz and Otis Brown. It is believed that legendary author Washington Irving was a favorite of Netta Barkus Brown, and then the name of the city was named after that. So, cool, right? Yeah.
You know, I've never been to Texas. It's one of the few states I haven't been to.
Wow.
I should fix that.
Yeah.
I'm going in September.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
Not to Irving, though. I'm going to Plano.
Oh, why are you going to Texas?
Work stuff.
Oh, yeah. I went to Texas for work stuff, too.
Lame.
I was in San Antonio a couple years ago, so I was there for a full week, and I don't like hot weather, and it was really hot. And I also don't like snakes and scorpions and other things. That's why I like living in Wisconsin, because
Did you just
cold...
get dropped off in the desert?
Yeah, pretty much.
It was like one of those like staff bonding exercises. So they just took the whole staff where Roger works, drops them in the desert with a compass and a bucket of water.
A bucket of water.
Yeah.
Good luck.
No, it was nice. I mean, it was really hot and sandy. And that's why I like Wisconsin, because our cold winters kill off pretty much anything that is creepy and crawly like that. So welcome to the show. We have a lot to discuss today. We have some news. We have your listener feedback as well, games that we're currently playing. And before we get into all of that, we do have an icebreaker. And this week, actually, our icebreaker comes from our friend Phil Hoff, and he asked, what is our favorite and least favorite game controller?
There are many very worthy controllers.
on both ends of the spectrum.
Well, it's funny because when I was thinking about this, I don't know. I guess I don't really think of controller. I don't know. I just don't have like a controller that sticks out and says, "Oh, this is a terrible controller."
Seriously?
Maybe one. Yeah. Well, I think maybe the only one I can really think of is like the Atari joystick, and the reason that I think it's terrible is because it's the same thing that I'm having with my Joy-Cons actually on my Nintendo Joy-Con on the Joy-Cons on the Nintendo Switch, like the little stick just keeps breaking, or not breaking, but you know what I mean, like it doesn't pick up the signals as like I want it to, and now I'm running into my second Joy-Con that I'm running into the same thing. So I didn't really like, I mean, I will say that I don't really like the Atari controller, but all the other controllers I thought were fine. I don't have a preference really, I guess.
Well, what's your favorite one then? Or you just literally don't have a preference?
I guess I would have to say one that feels comfortable in my hand is the PlayStation 4 controller. But it's weird because when I play a game like PlayStation 3, I'm like, oh, this controller feels nice. And then I play PlayStation 4, I'm like, oh, this controller feels nice. But then I go back to the PlayStation 3, I'm like, this doesn't feel nice anymore. But at the time, it was great. Same with the Wii controllers. At the time, I thought these are fine. But now I go back to them and I say, this doesn't feel fine anymore.
You have refined taste now, Roger.
I guess. Maybe that's it. Maybe at the time when I was playing it, I thought, these are fine. But when I go back and play them, this isn't fine anymore. Well, what about you, Blue? Do you have a preference, a favorite and least favorite controller of all time?
Well, when Nintendo went the direction of having all the games be motion controls on the Wii,
yeah,
I hated it because I hate motion controls. I don't want to play my game that way. I just want to play it normal. So you could say that I hate the Wii controller because I do. But actually the one that I hate the most are the stupid little Joy-Cons. Because not only do you have to have them for some games like Super Mario Party, which makes me insane, but even when you're not using them for motion controls, they're tiny and uncomfortable in your hands. And like the little slides that go over the top of them to protect the part that hooks on to the rest of the Switch, like those are impossible to get on and off, especially
they
off.
are. I never put mine on because of that.
Yeah, it's just so annoying. So those are my least favorite ones. I would almost rather not play a game than play with Joy-Cons.
Oh, wow.
So accordingly, my favorite controller is the Pro controllers.
Oh.
Because they mean that I can still enjoy the Switch like a normal console and play everything comfortably. And they are a godsend.
Yeah. You know, it's funny about the little covers that you put on. Do you, Christian, do you remember when I was trying to put one on?
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
I was freaking out. I was like, I can't get this off. Why do you get this off? I'm gonna break my controller. Oh no. It was.
Yeah, I had one. I was trying to. It needed to be charged, so I was trying to get the cover off, and it would not come off. It would not come off, and I was yanking on it so hard because that's obviously how you're supposed to do it. You know, if it doesn't work, you just use more force. So I was pulling on it like as hard as I possibly could, and then it finally like came off all at once. It flew off, and it caught my thumbnail and bent it backwards until it was bleeding.
Oh my god!
There swear words were said. It was really painful.
I can see why that's your least favorite controller now.
I mean, it was a stupid thing that I did, but yeah.
Well, I mean, those are hard to get off.
They are really hard.
They are. It would have been funny if I went flying into somebody's soup and like, oh, excuse me, let me grab that.
Specifically into their soup, huh?
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Christian? What is your favorite, at least favorite controller?
My favorite is probably the same as yours, Roger, the PS4 controller, because whenever I pick that sucker up, feels like coming home. I really like the elongated hand grips that it has going on. It's got a really good hand feel for me that I like a lot, and I probably experience the least amount of hand pain when I'm using a PlayStation 4 controller.
Yeah.
So that's good. And like you said, Roger, going back to PS3 is really hard for me because the hand grips aren't as long and they're kind of angular, and so they kind of like dig into my hands in a bad way. So now whenever I go back to my PS3, whenever I lug it back out, you can use a PS4 controller with it. So like when I played through like the God of War remasters or Ni no Kuni, I played through those with a PS4 controller and it worked fine.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's awesome.
Yes, sir. For least favorite, Joy-Cons hurt my hands, so I feel with Blue on that one.
Right? I told you.
My least favorite, though, just based on personal experience, it would probably be the N64 controller, just because I don't know how the heck you're supposed to hold the thing. And, like, I don't know. The analog stick hurts your thumb really bad, too, especially if you're playing Mario Party and, like, doing the circular motions all the time and, like, grinding your thumb to a pulp or the palm of your hand to, like, a meaty mess. That didn't feel good.
Yeah. When I played volleyball, we would have these things called skids that were like fingerless gloves.
Ooh.
And so you wear those so that when you dive for the ball, you don't get floor burns on your hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what my sisters would do is they would steal my skids when they played Mario Party on the 64.
Oh my
That's
god!
great.
Because
That's
then you
funny.
can go for it and not have to worry about bodily harm.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't understand how people played GoldenEye with that controller. That's just crazy. I don't know. I hate it. I didn't like that controller either. Now that you say this, now there are actually controllers I don't like.
Wait, when I think about it.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Mike? What's your favorite and least favorite controller?
I don't even want to say it now.
Uh-oh.
Guys, my favorite is the N64 controller.
Oh,
I'm
really,
gonna
Mike?
buck popular opinion on this.
Okay, be an N64 apologist. Tell us why it's great.
Apologist.
Are you
I'm
the
just-
three-handed man, Mike?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not an apologist. You guys are just deniers. You cannot accept the fact that the N64 was the greatest controller of all time. No, I'm not going to go that far, but I enjoyed it because it was the first foray into 3D environments, and it was, to me, it was very comfortable. And my first person shooter with the 64 was Turok, and they had those weird inverted controls, but I got so good at it that when I started getting into GoldenEye, I just wiped the floor with everybody. And the other good thing I liked about the 64 controller is that it was very comfortable using both ways, because I also had Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and then I just switch over to the D-pad. So there are good things, being able to use both the analog and the D-pad and still feel comfortable. The only thing that aggravated me is with the button layout. I always thought it was perfect for a Capcom fighting game, and Capcom never released fighting games on the 64, so I was really, really bummed out about that. But I really enjoyed the N64 controller. The Rumble Pack, so many new things came with that system.
that's true.
I think with GoldenEye, there was a control scheme where you could use two controllers for one player, and so one analog stick moved you and the other one looked around, if I remember right. And that sounds crazy. I would really like to try that. Just have like two Nintendo 64 controllers, one in each hand. I would feel like I'm at like some kind of command battle station or something.
Yeah.
Wow. That can't possibly be better.
Yeah, because you need like buttons for like ducking and
Totally.
opening doors, and
I don't know how they would fix that.
you get another person to help you out.
Or that's only for the three-armed man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, what was your least favorite controller then, Mike?
My least favorite, so I'm going to go really old school here, and I'm going to go with the Intellivision controller. The Intellivision controller kind of looked like it was about the size of a cell phone, and a small cell phone, not these giant ones they got now. And it had a disc at the bottom, and the disc was like the D-pad.
Yeah.
And above the disc, it had a number. It looks like it was just numbers, 1 through 9, and then or 1 through 0, I guess you could say. And then on the sides, there were 4 buttons. There were 4 buttons on the sides of it.
That's a lot of buttons.
There were. But the thing is, in order to play your game, or when you bought an Intellivision game, each game came with this plastic sheet that slides into the controller that shows what the buttons are. So like for baseball, like the 5 button was swing.
I remember this.
The different bases and all that stuff. If you lost one of those sheets,
Well, you were doomed.
good luck.
Yeah.
Not like you could just look it up online.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, those games were hard enough to figure out how to control. And then not having the, not knowing what you're using it for just even made things worse. So, and if I'm not mistaken, the Intellivision controller cords were naturally curly.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, they had that, you couldn't really get a whole lot of length out of them.
Yep.
Gross.
Yep.
Yeah. Gross.
I don't like that.
Oh, this makes me sick.
Yeah. Whenever I like plug in a controller that's wired and there's like that little twirl in there because I wrapped up the cord around the controller, I'm like, ee.
Yeah.
It's a pet peeve.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so I remember that, Mike. I remember the like. How crazy is it that they would have those sleeves that you would put over the top of the controller, so you knew, like, you know, each person that made a game was like, okay, well, we're gonna use the 5 button and the 3 button here. Yeah, just like how weird. It was so weird. Like, oh yeah, like, and I mean, it was supposed to be like, oh, so that you could have like customized games and stuff like that with each controller. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, video games have come a long way.
They really have.
Did they make a miniature console, or are they making a miniature console of the Intellivision, or am I remembering incorrectly?
So they've released like Intellivision like compilations over the years on various systems, but next October they're coming out with a new Intellivision, and it's the controller is designed the same way, but it's all digital, and you can hook up your. I think they said you can hook up your cell phone to it as well, to play the different games, but there's no curly cable.
Oh
wow, yeah, because I mean, considering we're all kind of used to the same basically standard layout of controllers, I can't imagine trying to play a game with that thing.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know. Maybe somebody from like the 1970s when that came out, maybe they'll be like, "Hey, this is like going home."
They're like finally, I've been waiting all this time.
I quit gaming ever since like the Atari came out because of the controllers, but man, oh man, now,
jeez,
now it's better. Oh, that's funny. So listeners, what are some of your favorite and least favorite controllers? You can let us know. You can send us a tweet at GamerheadsPC. You can send us an email at info@gamerheadspodcast.com. You can also go to our website, and it's gamerheadspodcast.com, or go to facebook.com/gamerheadspodcast, and then leave us a message there as well. All right, so let's move on to the news. And I have a couple items here. Actually, before we get into that, Christian, why don't you bring up, you talked about Gamescom. Why don't you talk a little bit about what was announced at Gamescom?
Gamescom?
Yeah, Gamescom.
A video game conference that happened in Germany?
Yeah.
That
the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
It was cute. All I watched was the opening day.
It was cute?
It was, yeah. It was, you know, it's like E3 for all the little guys. That's what it felt like.
Oh,
so that's why I enjoyed it. There was opening day with Jeff Keighley, and so he had a little stream that basically felt like an E3 press conference. He was like, "We've got news for you. We've got gameplay." And Jeff Keighley is a very self-aware video game journalism man, because he was like, "We've got gameplay." And so whenever you would have an interview with someone up on stage, you'd be like, "You've got gameplay, right?" And they'd be like, "Yes, we have gameplay." And he'd be like, "Good, let's check it out." It was kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But they announced a handful.
Once they said no.
Some of them didn't have gameplay, but he just didn't ask because he's a smart journalism man. He knew what to put on that teleprompter.
Almost like he prepared before he went on stage.
You don't say.
Wow.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a handful of little announcements at Gamescom. Like there's a game that Shadow dropped, kind of. It was called Erica. And it was initially a PlayLink PlayStation game that was announced in 2017 and finally exists, and it's no longer a PlayLink game. It's like a full motion video type story game. So that was announced and released same day that the conference happened. Kerbal Space Program 2 was announced. There's some people that are way into Kerbal Space Program and will really love a sequel to it, I'm sure. Little Nightmares 2 was announced.
Heck yeah.
That's a pretty big deal. I was surprised to see a sequel happen like so quickly, because it feels like Little Nightmares was like last year, but I think it was probably like 2 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've had some time. And then a game called Disintegration was announced by one of the creative directors behind the original couple Halos, and that looks like very Destiny-y video game. And they also had a Death Stranding trailer because Jeff Keighley loves Hideo Kojima, and Hideo Kojima loves Jeff Keighley so much so that he put Jeff Keighley as a character in Death Stranding, which the trailer revealed.
Interesting. We still don't know what the game's about, but that's interesting.
The story stuff seems to be kind of illuminating some things. There's like a different world. There's like a different plane or like pain that's like the death plane of existence, and that's why people have babies that they jack into so that they can like have some kind of sensory access to this other world. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Death Stranding looks like the negative image of Metal Gear Solid 5 to me. So I love Metal Gear Solid. I love Hideo Kojima video games. But Metal Gear Solid 5 was largely a disappointment for me because the gameplay was incredible. The gameplay is like above and beyond amazing because it's debatably one of the best, stealth action video games of all time in the gameplay department. But the story was like non-existent, and like 90% of it was in these radio logs. And you don't want to just sit there and listen to radio logs in order to actually get a Hideo Kojima story. That's not fun. And it didn't have the melodramatic people explaining all of these, really crazy concepts forever. And that looks like exactly what Death Stranding is. It looks like people sitting there explaining crazy things that don't make sense in hours long cutscenes. And I missed it. I'm so glad it's back. But the gameplay looks weird. The gameplay looks like you're just delivering stuff. And there's weird stuff going on where if multiple people do things together, then interesting things will happen. Like you can pee in the game, and if multiple people pee on the same spot, he said something cool is going to happen.
What?
So I'm a little nervous for the gameplay, but as long as the story is what we're seeing in these story cutscenes, I'm all in.
Well, I can't wait to see the reviews come out and have people discuss the peeing mechanics.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm totally excited. You've got the baby in the jar, and then if you fall off a cliff, you got to use the power, the motion sensing capabilities of the DualShock 4 to rock the baby so that it's happy.
Sounds fun. Yeah, sounds like a game I want to play.
Innovative, next gen.
I can feel the sarcasm all the way over here.
We don't shake the baby.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't shake the baby. We rock the baby.
Yes.
I will be playing that game in November. I don't know about you guys, but I'll be playing that game in November.
I will probably wait and see what people say.
Oh, no. I mean, sorry. A real baby. We'd be rocking a real baby.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
That's right. Okay, yeah. No, I didn't follow that jump with you.
So, anyway, yeah, that's Gamescom. Thanks, Christian.
Sure.
The next item here. Mike, do you want to read the next one here?
I sure can. From GameSpot, Insomniac sends out a message to their fans regarding the Sony acquisition of the developer. So Insomniac Games sent a message to fans following the announcement that Sony Interactive Entertainment has purchased the developer. Today we announced that Insomniac has a new home, says Insomniac CEO Ted Price. It feels more like a homecoming. I see what they did, though.
Rest in peace.
We've collaborated with Sony for more than 20 years, spanning all 4 PlayStation consoles, 20 total games, and 6 franchises. We still work closely today with many of the same Sony teammates as we did when we released the original Spyro the Dragon in 1998.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So now with this whole everybody up in arms about Sony and Disney fighting.
Yeah.
I wonder what this is going to mean for any additional Spider-Man games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, or any other additional superhero games, because they were talking about making a whole like suite of games, right, or suite of games, I should say, of different superheroes in that video game universe, I guess. So we'll have a Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we'll have a Marvel video game universe, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know how the heck the rights for that would shake out, because Sony owns Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, yes. And all the characters, yeah.
Yep.
So they would have to go out to an external license holder to get other Marvel superheroes?
I don't know. That's good. Well, I don't know. I mean, Marvel was really willing to work with Sony on that video game. I mean, so I don't know. I guess we'll see, because there is comic books actually based on that video game. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a good partnership.
Yeah, I don't know why now though, because I mean they've been like slaving away for Sony exclusives for years. They did the original all the way back in '98. They did the original Spyro trilogy, a bunch of Ratchet and Clank games, all Sony PS1, PS2, PS3 exclusives, and Resistance 1, 2, and 3 PS3 exclusives. And then they just kind of like step back and let Insomniac just go crazy and do their own thing, where they made like Fuse that got like all nasty. It used to look really cool, and then it just kind of fizzled out into this generic third-person shooter. And then they did Sunset Overdrive, which was really rad, but didn't sell well and was an Xbox exclusive. And then they did a bunch of weird little things. Like there was that Song of the Deep game. That was like an indie game that was multi-platform. And then it just kind of got quiet until Marvel Spider-Man happened. And then they're like, ooh, money making. We want you guys now.
Who made the game? What is the one with the Second Son? What was it? What's
Infamous Second Son? Yeah, that is Sucker Punch.
Oh, Sucker Punch. Okay.
Which is currently developing
Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. Where our friend Brandon is working?
Jordan,
I'm sorry. Where our friend Jordan is working?
Guess we're not that close of friends.
You're right. You got me. See, we've got people who I work with named Jordan and Brandon, and I forgot which one it was.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, they're certainly going to come up with another Spider-Man game, you would think.
I would imagine, with how much it sold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cliffhanger ending.
I don't know that yet, but yes.
They set themselves up for it.
Cool. Well, yeah, it's cool. Congratulations to Insomniac Games for I guess being part of the Sony family now. So, let's see. Christian, you want to read the next one?
Sure. This one comes from Nintendo Life. GameStop's internal database lists multiple new SKUs for the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I know we talked about this, and then some people at work talked about this too, and they were super excited about. They're like, oh, what does that mean? I just think that they're just getting more bundled games in the Switch. I don't think it's going to be like new Switches.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
there's a lot of them though.
Like, how many?
That's a good question, but I can tell you that there's about 20 of them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot of bundles.
Yeah, that is a lot of bundles. But, I mean, 3 of them are going to be the Switch Lights, right? I mean, that has to be. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know, I guess 17 more will be bundles. No, but, I mean, don't you think that maybe they're even just, maybe they're GameStop exclusive bundles? Who knows? I don't know.
They're not the Switch Lights, because they've had those in their system since they've been doing pre-orders for a while. Oh, so it's not even
Switch Lights, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and I guess what I read was the last time that something like this was found, where GameStop had a bunch of new SKUs for things, like that was right before E3, and then they came out with a bunch of games that they're announcing, like, oh yeah, so these are the games that are coming out. So that's why people are like thinking, and then they came out with a direct right after that too. So they're hoping that maybe we'll get a direct explaining what all these new SKUs for the multiple SKUs for the Switch would be. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I just, there's no way they're going to come up with new Switches. I just think that this is going to be more bundles. I don't know. I'm not getting my hopes up, I guess. I'm not getting my hopes up for a pro Switch before the end of the year.
Did you hear, like, people are going crazy about Super Mario Sunshine?
Yes, I did hear that too.
Why is that?
Because Nintendo said something about how Mario likes sunshine or something, right?
They posted it. They did a Twitter post where it shows Mario just chilling out on a beach or something, and it says, "Hope everyone's enjoying their summer. Mario also enjoys some sunshine," or there's something, and that people could very easily jump on and immediately say Mario Sunshine remake.
Yep.
Maybe. But then people were also talking about during Gamescom when Nintendo was doing Treehouse streams. At various times, they had, for inexplicable reasons, they had various fruits on the table. that had nothing to do with the games that they were playing. So people are like, oh, they're teasing us by putting these fruits.
That's great.
Like, people just jump onto these so easily.
I love this.
Yeah.
Super Mario Sunshine Remake was like a huge rumor back when the new 3DS came out too, I remember. People are just wanting this for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think it has a cult following for sure. A lot of people like that game. I haven't played it, but...
They would have to figure out how to get it to work with the Nintendo Switch's digital shoulder buttons. Because the GameCube had analog ones, which let you spray the FLUDD while moving.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I mean, maybe... You know, when I saw that, I thought, well, why don't they come up with some of these older games and put... Because a lot of people probably didn't play a lot of those older games. Put them on a Switch. You get a new generation of people playing those games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played them. I'd be down for it.
Yeah, see? I'm excited. I mean, I hope something cool is announced with these multiple SKUs. I hope it's something cool. But I'm not holding out hope. I'm just thinking that this is something GameStop is doing. Who knows? Speaking of GameStop, Blue, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. This comes to us from Forbes. Several Game Informer staff were laid off to, quote, reduce costs for GameStop. Several of Game Informer's editorial staff took to Twitter on Tuesday to reveal that they had been laid off from the long-running video game magazine, which is owned by GameStop. The positions at the magazine make up just one part of GameStop's layoffs, which apparently eliminated 120 positions for a total of 14% of the company's total associate base at its headquarters and other offices in what GameStop is calling necessary to, quote, reduce costs and better align the organization with our efforts to optimize the business to meet our future objectives and success factors.
Yeah, that was really heartbreaking that day. So here's the thing that is awful about this. Nobody knew this was coming. Nobody. They walk into this office, they call in 7 people individually and let them go. Nobody saw this coming at all. Like, and what a crappy thing to do right before, like, going back to school happens. So if you have kids and they're like, yep, you're good luck trying to, you know, get your kids organized for school, you're not going to have a job here anymore.
Right.
Oh, just so awful. So I did a little, do you mind if I go into this? I did a little research, actually. So I looked into who the CEO is of GameStop. So it's a gentleman by the name of George Sherman. He took over in April of this past year. So I just started looking at seeing like what he's done in the past. So it's funny because like I think he's got as many jobs as I do, actually. So just to give you, so in 1996, he was the regional vice president of Target stores from 1996 to 2002. Then he was regional vice president from Target from, it was the same thing, 1996 to 2002. Then he was EVP, I don't know what the operations at Mervyn's from 2002 to 2005, so 3 years there.
Executive vice president, maybe?
Maybe. And then he was senior vice president of home services at Home Depot from 2005 to 2009, 4 years there. Senior vice president of services at Best Buy from 2009 to March of 2013, so 3 years and 10 months there. President of Advanced Auto Parts from 2013 to December 2016, 3 years and 9 months. Executive chief officer of Victra, Verizon authorized retailer from 2017 to April 2019, so 2 years and 8 months, and then now GameStop from April 2019, so he's been there for 5 months. So
That's a stacked resume.
It is a stacked resume. So funny story. I'll quickly tell a funny story. When I applied for a job, and I have a lot. I mean, Christian, I think you can contest. People are attest to this. A lot of people say to me, like, you literally have done everything out there, like job wise. And when I go for an interview, I actually had somebody say this to me once. He looked at my resume and he said, either you do a lot of drugs.
Oh God!
What?
either you do a lot of drugs or you just move from job to job. Like, why do you have so many jobs? And I said, well, I've always tried to better myself, right? So I'm always looking for something a little bit better than I had before. And some of them were at the same company. It's just that I moved into a different position, right? So, but I look at this, and I will predict this right now. I don't think George Sherman will be there next Christmas. By the end of next year, he's going to be gone. He won't be there anymore. I mean, look at his resume. He's there for like 3 years, 4 years, 2 years. He'll be gone by the end of next year. He'll be on to something else. I guarantee you. I'm calling it right now.
Okay. We'll check in with you in next Christmas.
But the one other thing I will say too, quickly, I also just went to look at some of the places that he worked at or that he was the CEO of, and what they said on Glassdoor. So one thing that I saw was actually on Glassdoor, somebody that worked at Victra, Verizon, and this is what they wrote. And I'll just kind of go this quickly, but the pros: when I first started at Victra, it was still a wireless. At the time, it was a great company to work for. Everyone was great, and it felt like a company truly cared for its employees. Rich was amazing. The only pro left since George Sherman took over as CEO, so they wrote this in September of 2018, is the people in the lower positions. Most of these people, however, had their jobs eliminated or have been offered pitiful salaries and relocation packages for the Raleigh area. I'm sure someone will see that fact that Victra was voted as one of the best places to work. This is because the survey was not given to all employees. If a survey has been given to everyone who worked at Victra, it would have been a completely different outcome. Wow. That was a pro, by the way. That was a pro. So they wrote
wow.
The place. They go on to say about some of the cons that it's very secretive and disorganized, and that people were like let go without really being told things. Information is withheld from employees until that it's a need to know basis. Sounds really familiar, doesn't it?
Huh.
Yeah. So I get the sense that maybe that's his MO, is that he's brought in to, do cuts and then goes on to another company. I don't know.
Sounds like a stand-up guy.
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, GameStop is, they are struggling. There's no question about that.
Right.
But to do it without grace and without any kind of dignity, right? These people put a lot of time and a lot of hours and a lot of blood and sweat into your product, and then just to treat people that way, that's awful. There's better ways of doing those kind of things. I don't know, it's heartbreaking. And I will just, I don't know. It's the people that are left behind then too are going to be asked to do more, right? So that I've been in that position too. It's just, It sucks. Yeah. I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that at all?
I'm just sad.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was sad, but also kind of fascinating to watch it happen in real time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And some of those folks were on vacation when they let him go, or they're at Gamescom when they let him go. Like, how awful is that? That's terrible. Heartbreaking for sure. Hopefully that they'll find something very quickly and get back on their feet. I will say I did stop in at GameStop and I asked a little bit about, the other corporate people that were let go. And a lot of it was they were reorganizing districts, apparently. So they had like district 1, 2, and 3 in certain areas, like certain cities together, and then other cities together. So they just combined them into one and then eliminated one of those positions. And now that regional manager has all those stores instead of separated between 2 regional managers, which again means that person has to do more work than they did before. So, I mean, there's always a price to pay for these kind of things. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. So,
yeah.
Certainly sad to see that happen. Anything else? Does anyone else have anything for the news?
Nope.
No, sir.
Ori and the Blind Forest came to Switch finally, or will.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Mm-hmm. And so with that, I officially have no reason to keep my Xbox.
Oh. Wait,
I don't know if that's news, but I'll be selling my Xbox.
I was going to say, haven't you been trying to sell it for a while now?
I've been talking about it, but Ori at the time was still Xbox. So I just was like, you know, and the Ori sequel is coming out soon.
Yeah.
And so I was
It'll be on Game Pass.
I know, but so that's why I was hesitating to actually pull the trigger on it. But yeah, if anybody wants a basically new Xbox One S, DM me.
Nice. All right. Well, then let's move on. Let's go on to the listener feedback. And listeners, you can always give us feedback. You can send us a tweet. And Christian, how can people send us a tweet?
At Gamerheads PC on Twitter.
And how can they send us an email?
info@gamerheadspodcast.com.
And what about Facebook?
Facebook.com/gamerheadspodcast.
And finally, our website.
That is gamerheadspodcast.com.
Nice. So last week we asked the question, since it was back to school time, we asked, what's a game that you played so much that it seriously affected your grades? So Mike, do you want to take the first one here?
Sure, this comes from @Winstolf, and they tweeted, any PS1 era Final Fantasy or Oddworld.
Yeah, Oddworld. I played a lot of that in college, too.
Time sinks.
There's my buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in Oddworld.
Nice. Christian, want to take the next one there?
Yeah, Red Doctor 2 tweeted, GoldenEye, first year of college. That's why I failed.
Kindred Spirit.
Yeah. You
guys were probably playing together.
Yeah,
that's right.
when you go to college, did they ever say this to you? I don't know if they still say this, Christian, but I remember sitting in a big room and they said, look to your left, look to your right. One of those people or both of them may not be here by the time you graduate. And I was like, well, what? And they said, because of GoldenEye. No, I didn't say that. But did they say that still, Christian? Did they say that yet? Did they tell you that in a big like at the big welcoming speech? They tell you, look to your left, look to your right. Those people probably won't be here by the time you graduate.
No, I don't think I recall that happening in any of the big lectures I was a part of.
No, they said 1 in 3 people actually graduate from college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Is that every college? Any college?
I don't know. Maybe it's just UWSP. I don't know.
I'd be interested to see if that stat still holds up today. I bet it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not. I remember when I was going through school, sorry, just a side note, but I had a professor that said when, it was my last year of college and he told us all, he said, you should be proud because really only 33% of Americans have a college degree and, you should feel privileged that you had the opportunity to actually get a degree. A lot of people don't have that opportunity. So do something with it. So, and then I said, okay.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. Let's see. Blue, do you want to read the next one?
Sure. This comes from @KenSaden, and they tweeted, I know English today because I played Final Fantasy VII, so thank you, Square. We'll always love you.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is sweet. Awesome. Actually, I never thought about it, and now I wonder if I should take a game I really love and set it to a language I don't know. So it will force me to learn that language.
Oh, boy.
Good luck.
You're probably dependent on the translation quality, too, because I think Final Fantasy VII was not localized the best.
Yeah, probably.
In English, I'm talking. Yeah. So, if you're learning English, Final Fantasy VII probably isn't the best game, but we're glad it worked out for you, Ken Saden.
Yeah. Wow. Let's see. Mike, do you want to take the next one there?
Sure. This comes from Tomaki Weekly. They tweeted, Pokemon Silver! I would play late at night and often be too exhausted to go to school. LOL.
Was that your life too, Christian?
Oh, yeah. My parents, it was funny. For some reason, when I was little, I always wanted a Pokemon game so bad. I don't know where this desire came from. but it must have been like ingrained in my DNA as someone who was born on the same day Pokemon was birthed into this world. So, and my parents, they were like, hey, do you want to go check underneath your bed? And I was like, okay. And so I checked underneath my bed and it was Pokemon Silver. And I was like, no way. And they're like, keep looking. And then there was Pokemon Gold. And I was like, no way. And so I played one for 2 hours and then I played the other one. I'm like, oh, they're the same.
Are they really exactly the same?
Yeah.
Or,
they're the same. You just get different random Pokemon. That's about it.
Yeah.
Pokemon games do that though, right? I mean,
Yes.
the only one I've
do,
played is Blue, but it's the same as Red, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, except your starting Pokemon are different, right? And then or they're the same. But
the starting ones are the same. The legendary is different.
Legendary is different. Okay.
Also, I think there's also in Pokemon Red and Blue, I think it's like Kabuto and Ammonite or something like that. You can only get one and the other on that respective game.
Oh, interesting.
That meant nothing to little me. So,
well, that was a great day.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
I can't believe they hide it underneath your bed. Look under your bed.
Yeah, I was about to say, was there like the monsters?
Yeah,
I don't.
The monster's already playing the game.
It was strange.
You have a new pet alligator.
Look in the toilet. A snake is in there.
Your parents just strategically place various wild animals around the house.
That would be scary.
Got to keep you on your toes.
That's right. I'm making you tough, kid. Let's see. Christian, you want to read the next one there?
Yeah, this one's from K Merrill 8276. They said, my parents were smart. They didn't allow me to do any of my hobbies until my homework was finished. Thanks, Mom and Dad. You guys gave me a great level head for life.
Nice.
That's not a fun story. That's a boring story.
Yeah, what do you think? You're better than us?
We want to hear about people failing.
Yeah.
All right.
Bring people down to our level.
All right. Well, how about this next one then, Blue?
Okay.
You ask and you shall receive.
This is from @maxo_ABWFR, and they tweeted, I know it was during 95 and 96 session, first year in high school, and it was necessarily something on the Mega Drive. Can't remember what I was playing the most at this time. Surely Phantasy Star 4, Rise Star, or Sonic 2. Thanks to them, 1 extra year of school.
Yeah!
Woo!
That's more like it.
That's what we're looking for. I think it's funny, though, that you played so much. You failed your first year of high school, but you don't remember what you were playing.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's... Yeah. Mike, do you want to take the last one there?
Sure, this comes from Handsome Rakshas. I'm hoping I pronounced that right. And they tweeted, I failed microbiology because Fire Emblem GBA came out the day before my final.
Jeez.
Oh.
That's like you spend all... It's like put that in video game terms. That's like you spend all this time playing a video game, and you're about to beat it, and then another game comes out, and you're like, oh, I'm going to play that game instead. And then you never beat that game. You put all that time
We do that all
to
the
it.
time.
I know. That's true.
Like, literally all the time.
Something kind of similar happened to me with
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild when that came out. Because that came out like 2 days before a big final for one of my classes.
Oh.
That wasn't good.
Wow.
I just brought the Switch with me to lecture, and so I would play it before and after.
Oh.
You didn't get kicked out?
No, I didn't play it during lecture at all.
Okay,
So,
I was like, I don't know a single professor that I ever had a class from that would let you sit there and play.
Yeah. I had a friend. I think I may have mentioned this before, but it's not that he failed out of school, but he did break up with his girlfriend over World of Warcraft.
yeah.
And he almost got fired from his job because of World of Warcraft.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah. He would call in sick a lot playing that game, and then he realized, oh my god, I'm getting addicted to this game, so I gotta stop. So thanks everybody for giving us feedback. We do have another feedback actually in iTunes. We did get a review in iTunes, and this comes from Torto, and they gave us 5 stars, and they titled this Casual, Comfortable, and Credible Gaming Talk. Really enjoy the rapport the hosts have with each other and their passion for gaming. Well-spoken and very listenable. Great for my commute. Keep it coming. I'll keep listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's really nice.
Thank
Very
you.
kind.
Yeah. And listeners, if you want to give us feedback and want to hear it read on our podcast, you can go to iTunes. There's a link right in the show notes, and you can leave us a review there, and we'll read your review as well. So thank you so much. All right, let's move on then to games that we're currently playing. And Blue, we'll start with you. What games are you currently playing?
So, for the first time in probably 5 weeks, I played no Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
What?
I know.
That's not like you, Blue.
I know. It was a rough week. So,
Oh, no.
well, I mean, not really. I mean,
Okay.
the main thing that I did this week was I had to finish Aggelos,
Oh, yeah.
and I had to do the review about it,
Oh,
which
yeah.
will be up early next week on the wellreadmage.com, so you can check that out there. But yeah, I went to beat the game after we recorded last week, and oh my gosh, Mike, that last castle,
Right?
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 Holy cow. So you guys know that my biggest issue with this game is the controls, because
Yeah.
they don't work for me. Apparently I'm the only one, but they don't work for me. They're a nightmare. And so what this last castle in the game basically is this obstacle course that makes you prove before you can get to the end boss that you have mastered the controls.
Mm.
It was like my actual nightmare. And it just went on forever, obstacle after obstacle that made me prove that I had mastered these awful controls. And so, like in our house, my husband and I, we don't have kids, so we're a little bit spoiled. But we have 2 TVs set up and next to each other so we can play at the same time. And he was sitting next to me on the couch playing Destiny, and I'm playing Aggelos. And at one point, like, I just, like, dropped my controller, and I just started laughing. Like, I was laughing my head off because I was standing in front of this corridor that was nothing but spikes.
Yeah.
And you had to do the dash and time it and get it perfectly. And I was down to, like, 3 hearts, right? I mean, and if I died, I was going to have to do all of the obstacles that I'd already done over again. It wasn't going to start me at the corridor. It was going to start me at the beginning of the castle. And I was just like, I dropped my controller and I just started laughing because I was like, this is what hell is like, I'm pretty sure. It's trying to play this castle in this game.
Oh my gosh.
You could actually hear the sound of Blue snapping.
Yeah.
And my husband, like, he leans over, he's like, are you okay? I was like, this is great. I'm never better.
Yeah. I made it. I honestly, that was going to be my question because I'm on that castle as well. And for the life of me, I just cannot get past that one spot where you've got the spikes and you have to dash and then drop down a little bit and then dash some more and then keep dashing. And what makes it so frustrating is that after that, if you don't make it, then all right, well, there's no checkpoint. So am I correct in saying that there's not a single checkpoint? So even if you lose at the end boss, you have to do the entire obstacle course all over again?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So
I'm going to put in my 2 weeks notice right now.
It was nice having you on the podcast.
Yeah,
Mike.
right.
So I did eventually get through it, and mercifully, I beat the end boss of the castle on the first try.
Wow.
I was so desperate too. I was just like, oh my god, do it. Like, so I did finally do it, and then you get a checkpoint because naturally, he's not the real end boss.
What?
Yep, there's a whole other end boss after that. Sorry if that's a huge spoiler for anybody, but yeah, just so you're mentally prepared because really, it is awful that at the end of the game.
Crazy.
So when you beat the game, did you feel like yes, this is a sense of accomplishment, or was it more like, oh, thank God that's over with?
No, I was like, I never have to play this again. Like tears down my face, like tears of joy.
Oh, not of sadness?
No, I was like, I never have to play this again. I'm so happy. So, yeah, but don't worry, because the final boss is actually so much easier than that stupid castle.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Is this some guy behind a curtain?
If you can get through the castle, you've been through the worst of it.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Well, that's why they have all those spikes, because that boss is like, I can't take anybody on. I'm going to put all these spikes up here. Because what if they get to me? I'm dead.
Yeah, so I definitely, because when you get to the end of the castle, you get the save point, so you can teleport out if you have the angel feather, which I did. And then I spent some time grinding for money, because you can buy an extra heart piece for 150,000 at one of the shops. So I took my time, I got the money, I bought that, and then when I beat the game, I was so glad I had, because I was down to 1 heart. It was that heart that I took the time to go out and get.
Wow.
And I was like, whoo, that was close.
Wow. Well, I'm excited to read your review.
Yeah, I don't know. It was actually, it took me a long time to write, because I was trying very hard to be fair and objective, and it's just difficult because the controls are like what the game is founded on.
Yeah.
It affects your experience with everything else, and so even though the music is great and the visuals are great, I still hate them because I'm seeing them through the lens of the awful controls.
Yeah. Interesting. Have you played anything else?
Yes. I recently acquired the Castle of Illusion, World of Illusion, and Quackshot. So that Disney trilogy on the Genesis that I have been wanting for probably, I don't know, like 25 years.
Nice.
And Genesis Classic be darned, you didn't need it.
Well, yeah, see, exactly, because I was looking at that and deciding whether I wanted to order one, and I was looking at the list of games, and I said, I have all these games already, because they've already put out so many great Sega Classic collections.
Yeah.
And so I said I could spend $80 to get these two Castle of Illusion and World of Illusions, which are the two that I want to play. So I could spend $80 to get the Genesis Mini for those two games. Or I found them on eBay for $20 each.
Ah.
So that's the way I went. And they were cheaper ones on there available, but I spent a little more to get ones with the labels that are just absolutely perfect.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome.
So yesterday I spent the day playing Quackshot.
Nice.
And it took me about 4 hours to get through it, but I beat it in one sitting, because you have to, because you can't save.
Oh, wow.
I know.
The good old days.
Definitely. After about 2 hours, like, I had things I needed to do, and I kind of wanted to stop, but I was like, I can't just turn it off. I'll lose everything that I've done. And so I had to, stick through it. And sorry, responsibilities. You can't just turn it off.
Did you ever do this as a kid? Because I did this all the time. Like, leave the Nintendo on, turn off the TV, and then tell your siblings, don't turn it off. Or your mom and dad, don't turn this off. Why do you have that on? Just leave it. Just leave it. I'll be right back.
I did, actually. I turned it off, turned the TV off to go upstairs, just to take a break, like a mental break.
Yeah.
Just for a few minutes. And my husband comes up. He's like, oh, you left your game on. I turned it off. And I was like,
No.
He's like, just kidding.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, that's good, because I'd have killed you.
Oh, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the old days of gaming, right? Before save spots. Well, there were save spots. It was just you turning off the TV and you walking away. Yep. That's you saving.
Yep. But it was great. I really enjoyed it because, I mean, obviously it's a Disney game and those are fun, but also having just come from Aggelos, I was like, these controls are great. With the old games, sometimes they can be a little loosey-goosey. And these ones were not. They were just you push jump and you jump. And there was no knockback, which I just adored that there was no knockback.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's
That's
funny
weird.
that you say that.
Usually knockback is like the standard for those kinds of games.
Yeah, it is true.
Yeah, there was one time where I was jumping across these platforms over this, canyon or whatever, and an enemy that was on the land, they like shot something at me and it hit me, and in my head I was like, oh, that's it, I'm done, I fell, I lost a life. And then he didn't. Donald just stayed where he was, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a miracle.
Well, it is Donald Duck that we're talking about, though. So maybe he maybe he's tough enough to take a hit or two.
Maybe.
He was in the Navy and all, wasn't he? So
I guess.
Nice. Anything else?
Nope, those two.
Nice. Christian, what about you? What have you been playing?
Sure, I can finally talk about some games this week. There's one game I can't talk about, which I just finished, but I can talk about two others. One of those being the one I couldn't talk about last week, Remnant from the Ashes, which I played through and just came out. It's a third-person shooter out of Gunfire Games, I believe they're called, the same studio that brought us Darksiders 3 last year.
Oh.
So this is a bit of a departure for them, which is interesting. It's also not being published by THQ Nordic, which is also interesting. I'm not sure how the business shook out behind the scenes on this one, but I'm glad it exists because it's this wonderful, like, low-budget third-person shooter. It's $40, and it's got some Dark Souls inspirations. It's not Dark Souls, it's a third-person shooter, and it's quite a bit easier. There's just lots of influences taken from Dark Souls, just like pretty much any video game these days, taking influences from Dark Souls. It's in the video game maker's handbook at this point. It's going to happen. But the third-person shooting in Remnant is just superb. It feels great. You're shooting a bunch of these weird demon-y monster things throughout the course of a campaign, and it feels great to do it. The shooting feels satisfying. You see damage numbers popping out of people. You want to see the yellow and red ones because that means you're getting critical hits or hitting their weak points. You want that. And you just shoot through the levels, get to the boss fight, and all the boss fights are surprisingly inventive. Like, it's not just huge guy with big health bar like every other video game or Dark Souls game. They actually shake things up a little bit. Like, there's one encounter, for example, that's a boss fight, quote unquote, but you're like defending this like alien civilization city from being besieged by this other race of things. So really fun in the gameplay department. Story department, not so much. Polish department, it's rough, to say the least. The game is like very Unreal Engine-y looking. So it's kind of, it doesn't look the best, but we're like spoiled with eye candy these days. So if you see a 3D game that's not made with hundreds of millions of dollars by a AAA studio, it becomes a little obvious that that's the case, and that is the case with Remnant. The cutscenes are very stiff and stilted, and like the voice acting's like a little hit or miss, and so there's some friction on the outset because you're immediately hit with a cutscene that doesn't animate well, and your character gets swept away in an ocean wave, and then you're like, what's happening? The story doesn't really make sense, and you're met with this like guy who's fending off demons. He's shooting other like bad guys, and then he gets killed by one of the bad guys, and so your character model runs over and like looks sad, but you don't know why because you just ran across this guy. You don't know if he's good or bad, and then you run into a kid, and then the kid brings you to safety to the headquarters, and then the kid's voice actor is absolutely awful, and then you walk over to a table and you read a journal that's like someone's diary about how they're surviving through the apocalypse and they had a kid, even though they probably shouldn't have because it's, a nuclear apocalypse. It's not nuclear, but it's end of the world apocalypse, and there's demons everywhere, and they're going to kill all of humanity, but I had a baby anyways. And this journal is so long, and there's a bunch of these journals spread throughout the game. The story isn't good, and it like hammers you in the face in the beginning. But if you can make it through that and get to the gunplay, that gooey gunplay center that's in Remnant from the Ashes, it's a great time. And I think Remnant is emblematic of kind of the state of video games right now, and it's like a bastion to the return of the middle tier AA video game, and I am loving it. I think with THQ Nordic picking up steam, like slowly gathering more and more IPs as this big gelatinous blob that is THQ Nordic continues to swallow up every other property that's for sale. They're putting out stuff, and with this year's A Plague Tale: Innocence and Remnant from the Ashes, those are two very solid middle-tier games that don't have the biggest budget, but they take that lower budget and do something interesting with it to kind of garner some attention for themselves in a marketplace that's otherwise filled with multi-million-dollar projects.
I want to just take a moment to give Christian the Adjective Award of the Year.
Thank you, Blue.
I'd
like to thank the Academy.
You have earned it.
Nice. So it's funny that you say that, though, because, I mean, that's a really good point that you made, Christian, about how I think those types of games, when you have a game that's kind of graphically intense, right, and first-person shooters tend to be graphically intense, and you play other games that look good and smooth and just, the AAA games, it is hard for a smaller studio possibly to compete with that, and maybe that's why a lot of smaller studios really like to go back to some of that like the old school kind of graphics stuff, which looks beautiful, right? But it's not as I guess I don't know, demanding, I guess is the word on your systems that you're trying to build it on. So
yeah, it's also, I feel like it's hard selling a 2D pixel art Metroidvania to the general public when it's sitting there out on a store shelf and you're trying to sell it to high school Brody who's out there looking for his next video game fix. Yeah, because Brody's going to be he's going to walk into GameStop, he's going to be so, what games are good? And he's going to look at the cases, and then he's going to see, Hollow Knight, and then he's going to see, Iconoclast, and he's going to be those are kiddo games. I ain't playing the kid games here, buddy. I'm here to play big kid video games.
Hollow Knight is the farthest thing from a kid's game ever.
Exactly. But looking at the case, he'd be oh, that's a cute little bug. It's got nice little big black chibi eyes. I do not need that. Looks like a Funko Pop.
Yeah.
Brody sucks.
Yeah, Brody
he does.
Yeah, who is this kid?
He doesn't exist. He exists
everywhere.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. Yeah. I just didn't want to poo-poo on anyone's video game enjoyment.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. And it's funny because I think about growing up with Atari and even NES, and think about Mega Man on the cover of Mega Man.
Yeesh. That was rough.
That was rough. Oh, I will say that was one. I almost didn't play that game because I was like, what kind of artwork is this? But, look at the Atari art. Gosh, it was not good. Some of it was good. Some of it was hand-drawn. It looked cool. But a lot of it was, pixelated. But you picked it up. You're like, oh, Jungle Hunt. This looks awesome. Pitfall. Cool. Let's
Don't say a word about Pitfall.
No, I'm saying it looked cool. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Okay.
As a kid growing up with that, I don't look at box cover art now and say, oh, I'm not gonna play that game because it looks kid-like, right? Just because I grew up with artwork that wasn't all that great.
Well, that's all we had to go on.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, this box art looks really cool. I think I'm gonna get this game.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. Now you type it into a YouTube search box.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yep. Anything else, Christian?
Yes, the other game I just played through was Telling Lies.
Oh, you
another
finished
recent
it.
Released. Yes, I did. I sat down. I was I am playing this sucker, because I spent it was a 6-7 hour marathon where I just sat down, played through Telling Lies, beginning to end, and I enjoyed it a lot. I was very excited for Telling Lies because it is the spiritual successor and has the same creative director as Her Story. Her Story was a game that came out back in 2015, 2016, somewhere in that window. And Telling Lies uses it's got the same thing Her Story had, which is you're sitting down at this computer and it's you have access to this video database. And this video database is full of videos that are recordings, basically in the game's lore, gathered by the NSA, and they're video chats between people. So how you watch these videos, it's a full motion video game. So all of these are real actors giving real performances, and you're sitting there, and like 95% of your time is sitting there watching people talk, watching actors give their performances. So in order to find these videos, what you have to do is use the search engine for the database. So you'll type in a word or a phrase, and if there's anything that matches that word or phrase, it'll pop up, and you can click on it and actually watch the full video. And it limits it to 5 results. So you can only get a maximum of 5 results. So if you go out there, like the, general words like and the, you're going to get hits, but you're only going to get a maximum of 5 of them. And with common words like that, you're probably going to get the ones that occurred first chronologically. So that's a long explanation. I'm sorry. That's,
it's like you have to be good at searching. I mean, so somebody that's good at maybe playing trivia, the trivia that they play at Steven's point here, we get to be really good at Google. They might be good at this game then. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you don't even really have to be that good at doing that either. I mean, it's very accessible. All it is a search box and your keyboard and a mouse. So I think it's also available on Android and iOS.
Yes.
I played it on PC, where I also played Her Story, and it worked well because I could have a full keyboard. I like that, but I'm sure it works fine on mobile. So you start out, and there's usually there's a set of videos already there for you. And so you can watch those videos, and you're introduced to a couple characters, and you're given lines of dialogue, basically. And the writing is just so cleverly done. Like, they plant words here or there that you can like kind of pick up on as, okay, we're going to write this word in the script so that the individual playing our video game will most likely search for this word and find this other video, which has this point or this interesting thing happen in it. And so it's just so fascinating, and it's just so cathartically engaging, because indie games are able to get away with these crazy detective investigation concepts because they don't have, $500 million riding on the line. That's, an investment from a huge AAA publisher that could go away if their, risks don't pay off.
Yeah.
So Her Story was able to establish a compelling mechanism by which to create an investigative murder mystery video game. And Telling Lies continues off of that. So it uses the same search engine system, like I said. And a lot of the fun is just figuring out what the heck is happening, because you just get these first 5 videos and you're like, okay, there's these characters. I don't know who they are. So what I've done is what I do when I played Her Story. What I did with Telling Lies is I just got out a notepad and I started writing down words, and my list got down to it was 300 words long. And what's really interesting is that when you're watching these videos, it's only one side of the conversation. So you can't hear what the person's responding to. And so you have to kind of listen to their responses and use that to create word searches based on what the other person probably said, so that you can get both halves of the conversation and connect things together and get that all important context for the scenario. And so that keeps you thinking all the time. And I really didn't have a problem coming up with words to search for. The game does have an end, so every time you watch a new clip that you haven't seen before, the day advances a little bit. And once you get to a certain time in the game, it's like, okay, you've seen most of the videos at this point. You know what's going on. So the game's done. Click this button to end the game, basically.
What?
So you can still, find all the videos if you want to, but my list was 300 words long. I only got through 50 of them before I pretty much saw 98% of the videos.
Wow.
So it does a really good job at giving you those words and stringing you along with these little things. And Telling Lies, I wouldn't say it's as good as Her Story. It does have a major flaw that Her Story did not have, and I do not understand why they degraded the system in this spiritual successor. So when you're watching a video, when you type in a word, you click on the video to watch it, and it starts at the point that the word is said. So it could start at the end of the video. And these videos can be like 6 minutes long, and you can't just start at the beginning of the video. So if you want to see the entire video and you started at the end of a 6-minute video, you have to rewind through the whole thing. And the rewinding is abysmally slow. It's only like 2 times speed. Like, it's not much faster than 2 times speed. Yeah. So if on a 6-minute video, you have to wait 3 minutes to rewind all the way back to the beginning to get that very important context and to see things that are actually pivotal and like plot important.
Wow.
And you can see you end up seeing these things in reverse while you're rewinding through. And so a lot of your time is spent reversing through videos, and it kind of ruins some of the climax that can come with those, videos that are really impactful. There's like 5 or 6 videos where you're like, ooh, this is good. Ooh, some stuff is going down here. And those are kind of what string you along and make Telling Lies so interesting. Her story is cheaper, and I would recommend it recommend it more highly than Telling Lies.
Oh.
But Telling Lies is also fantastic, and it's very ambitious because there's multiple actors, lots of stuff going on, and it's still a fantastic detective investigation game.
Mm. See, that's how it was when we had VHSs, Christian. Like you're
Yes, I am aware. Yes, I have rented VHSs back in the day.
You have, okay.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Do you have to play her story first, or are they not really related?
No, the stories are not at all connected.
Okay.
They just use the same search engine detective system.
Cool. Yeah, actually, I'm very interested in that game. I heard good things about it. So
yeah, her story is probably one of my favorite games of all time. So
wow.
I would highly recommend it.
Wow.
And it's on Steam, is that right?
Yes, Steam. I think also iOS and Android.
Okay. Cool. Anything else, Christian?
No.
Nice. Mike, what about you? What have you been playing?
This weekend I am getting into Tetris 99 again because of the Fire Emblem event going on right now, where you can unlock a Fire Emblem Three Houses theme as well as music.
I know I have to do that. Shoot.
That's where persistent games as a service games lose me, is when it's like, I got to put it on my to-do list. I got to do this. I got to do this. That's where Destiny 2 lost me, because it got to be, I got to do my weeklies. I got to do my dailies. I'm not going to get my powerful gear if I don't sit down and put in the chore work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they take points away from you, like in Mortal Kombat.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to clarify something. So I did a little digging after last week's episode, and I found out that, yes, you do lose your points, but the items that you earn at the end of the season, you don't lose those. So, like, if you hit a certain level, you'll get a certain outfit or a skin.
Oh, okay.
If your points go down and bring you below that level, you still get that skin.
Oh, that's good.
But if you try to get back into it, it's that much harder to get back
But to
up.
get to that next level, yeah, exactly. That's where
Right.
it sucks. Because if you want to get to that next level, then you need to... I mean, it's like... I mean, yes, it's nice that they at least give you where you hit, but come on, that sucks.
I know. So, but yeah, that's awful. Still awful. Don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I've been I got my Fire Emblem theme.
Oh, you did.
So doing that, and I'm back into Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. I still want to beat that game. I don't know. I looked at it. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I neglected you. Come on, little guy. Let's go for a walk. So I've been playing that and working on filling up my Pokedex so I can get the shiny charm.
Nice.
And then other than that, the only game that I put a lot of time into is I streamed Altered Beast.
Yeah.
And I was actually able to beat the game using certain menu items. But you can't argue with results.
That's right. That's what they say in baseball. Can't argue with results.
There we go.
Mike, is in your professional video game evaluator opinion, is Altered Beast good? Is it one of the best games on the Genesis? Because I feel like I've witnessed both sides of the coin with Altered Beast. I've heard it's like one of the best games on the Genesis, and it's an absolutely atrocious video game.
It's a little bit of both. It's not a terrible game. I'll say that, but I can tell you there are a ton of other Sega Genesis games that are so much better than Altered Beast.
Would you rather play Altered Beast or Golden Axe?
Golden Axe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Surprisingly, though, one of the there's a crossover. One of the creatures from Golden Axe appears in Altered Beast.
What? Really?
Yeah, the little weird chicken thing with a tail that you can ride on.
Yeah,
in Golden Axe is an enemy in Altered Beast.
Oh wow, that's also in Final Fantasy. Did you know that? Chocobos.
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I was about to say yeah.
Just kidding. No, but it's funny that you say that because my friend, I didn't have a Sega Genesis, and I knew a friend of mine that did have a Sega Genesis, and he had both Golden Axe, Altered Beast, and I think he had a Sonic game, and like he had 3 games, and those that I knew of at least. And I remember like wanting to like Altered Beast, but absolutely hating it, and we just would always play Golden Axe instead.
I think one of the reasons Altered Beast was so popular because that was the original pack-in game with the Sega Genesis, so it's got like kids didn't really have much other choice. Like you just forced yourself to enjoy it.
Yeah. But yeah, the pack-in games for Nintendo were way better.
That's a good point. All right, you win this round.
Yeah. Anything else, Mike?
No, that was it.
Nice. So I have been playing. One game I've been playing was Let's Go Nuts. So Mike and I did the review of Let's Go Nuts.
Sure did.
So Blue, you mentioned about how like older platform games, like how they feel better than some of the newer ones. In this case, I couldn't agree with you any more than that because. So Let's Go Nuts. I mean, you can listen to our review. It's on our website, gamerheadspodcast.com. But it's so floaty. You run around and your character's weightless, and they just kind of jump and they fly around, which makes it super easy for you to land on platforms that you want to land on. But it certainly makes it just feels weird. And when you're playing games like Mario, where you feel the weight. And you feel the every impact that you have that has that juice to it. Like it's just so different and so weird.
I like juice.
You do, I know. So do so does my kid. So
I was very passionate.
Yeah. So yeah, you can read our review on Gamer, or you listen to our review and see our notes on gamerheadspodcast.com on the game. And then I've been playing some Cat Quest. Cat Quest
is awesome.
That game is really good.
I told you.
Yeah. I was streaming it right before we were recording, and Retro Game Brews actually jumped on the stream, and he said, "Oh, you stream the funnest games." That game is really cute. It's really cute, and it's not hard. Obviously, it's it's, like you said, it's
casual.
It's casual. It is. But it's a cute game, and all the cat puns are really cute.
Is it casual?
It's pawtastic for sure. Yeah, so it's a cute game. And then the last game I'll just mention then too. I've been playing more of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and so I'm not very far because I just do a lot of side quests and I just travel. When I can play that game, I just like travel all over the place and just like explore and just to see what's going on.
That's the best part, is just walking around.
It is. It really is. And just some of the funniest things that happen in that game, and just like how interesting like the environment interacts with each other. So I mentioned to you guys, but I'll say it to our listeners. So the fact that I boarded a ship, I was jumping onto this pirate ship, and I kicked one of the captains from the ship into the water, and I was about to pull up my bow to shoot him, and a shark comes up and grabs him and eats him. And I was like, well, that was easy. That was cool. And then another one, I had a bounty on my head, and one of the bounty hunters was chasing me down, and one of the mercenaries was chasing me down. And I was working with the Spartans at the time, and I was running through their camp, and also all the other Spartans. There was probably like 8 of them. They all attacked the bounty hunter. And I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And one of them just like took his big malice mace thing and just hit him right in the head and like killed him. And he's like, "Ugh." And he like he starts cheering. He's like, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "Oh, that was really cool. Thanks, guys." Because he was giving me a hard time. I was being attacked by 2 of them, And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know. And I killed one of them, and I was just trying to I was dying, and I was trying to run away, and then the rest of the Spartans stepped in and killed him, and the guy was like, It was
just like that, huh?
It was just like that, and it felt like I was a brotherhood with those guys, and I said, thanks, Spartans, like, we're family now. It was funny.
For very temporarily.
Yeah. It's funny, in that same quest, I was working with the Spartans, and then I ran across an Athenian camp, and they're like, hey, we have these orders to give to this person. You have 24 hours. And really, you have 24 hours to give that quest in that game. And I was like, but I'm working with the Spartans right now. I don't think I can work against them. I'm sorry, Athenians. I can't help you right now.
That's exactly what I like so much about Odyssey, is that it sheds the pretenses of realism to make a fun video game. It went the opposite direction that Red Dead Redemption 2 did when all the Rockstar people sat down and they're like, okay, what kind of video game are we going to make? And they're like, we're going to make real life. We're going to make you a real cowboy. And then Assassin's Creed Odyssey is like, we're going to make a fun video game where you can run around and kill some people and level up and pump points into skill trees and have a fun video game power trip.
Yes.
Thank
you.
You.
Oh, I totally agree. Like, the other funny thing that happened was I had three mercenaries after me, so my wanted level was really high.
You must be doing a lot of bad things.
Well, I was
or just getting caught when you do them.
Well, okay, so I was going after one of the Greek mercenaries, like Helicos or whatever his name is. I can't remember his name. But so the funny thing is, I saw him and I was about to pounce on him, and then somebody saw me from behind it. Yeah, you know how assassins do, right?
They pounce.
Yes.
Meow.
Yeah, well,
you've been playing too much Cat Quest.
Yeah, I have been. But some guy from behind me saw me and said I'd kill him, and then I turned around to get him, and another guy saw me, and then finally the guy was actually going after. Finally, was like, "What's going on?" So then my wanting level went really high because of all that. So then I went on this mission, and these three mercenaries were hunting me down. And I got away from them, but I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be bad. I have to go take out the person that's sponsoring them." So he was in the city. He was in a capital city, and I went to go hunt him down. And he was surrounded by like 8 guards. It was just so funny. I jumped down, I kill him, and the guards just kind of stood there stunned for a second. I took off running, jumped on a horse, and took off running. And I was like, that was really epic, because like nobody knew what hit them. It was just like boom, boom, took off, and I was out of there, and no more bounty on my head because I took care of the person that was sponsoring it. How great was that?
Nice.
Just like real life.
Just like real life.
Just like real life.
So that's solves everything.
Yeah. So that's what I've been playing. So let's go on then to how people can get a hold of us, and we'll start with you, Blue. How can people get a hold of you?
You can almost always find me on Twitter. My handle is @WritersView, and it's spelled with a Y, so WRY. And then I also have a website, which is writersview.com.
Nice. And Christian, how can people get a hold of you?
I'm also on Twitter at Christian Cubs. Otherwise, you can read my reviews, like the one for Remnant from the Ashes, or the one that I can't talk about yet this coming week on NewGameNetwork.com.
Nice. And Mike, how can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on Twitter at TCThrowers. You could also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/TCThrowers. And you can find the Controller Throwers podcast on iTunes and Google Play.
Nice. And listeners, as I said, you can always find us on Twitter at GamerheadsPC. You can also watch our streams as well at twitch.tv/GamerheadsPodcast. Every Monday, I'll be doing a Mario Monday. Yesterday, I wanted to do Saturday morning serial, but just life got in the way. But I do Saturday morning streams as well, where I play games that remind me of my childhood, like games like Cat Quest. Those are the types of games I play on Saturday mornings as well. And then also this Wednesday, the 28th, you should stay tuned for the Retro Game Brews Challenge. So go to twitch.tv/Retro Game Brews, and they're going to be doing Punch-Out. Mike, are you participating in that?
I will.
Oh,
yes.
I am not, because I am not good at Punch-Out. It would be for comedic value only, but good luck,
Don't underestimate comedic value.
Well, that's true.
Why do you think I'm getting involved?
Mm-hmm. Well, it does have your name all over it, Mike. It's Mike from the Controller Throwers Punch Out.
That's right.
There we go.
Yeah. Although, is it Mike Tyson's Punch Out or just Punch Out?
No, it's Mike Tyson's.
Oh, okay.
I think they say you could play either one.
Okay.
Because it's really just a palette swap.
Yeah. So, stay tuned to that. I think that starts at, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time? Is that right?
Something like that.
7:30. So, but stay tuned for that. All right, Blue, thank you so much for joining us this week.
You're welcome.
And Christian, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
And Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
And listeners, thank you again for listening to us. If you do like the show and you want to help us grow, do go out to iTunes and leave us a review there. Even if you just leave us a star review, if you don't want to leave comments, that's fine. If you do want to leave comments, we'd love to hear what you have to say, and we'll read those on the show. But leaving reviews for us on iTunes does help us grow and helps people that haven't found our website, our podcast yet, find our podcast on iTunes, because then our rank goes up. I know it's kind of weird, but that's how it works. So, but if you do love the show, do throw us some love there. All right. Well, until next week, keep playing games, and we'll talk to you then. See ya.
Bye.
So long.
Adios.